Every week at Business at Breakfast, one of the members gets the opportunity to share with the group further insights into their business or enlighten the group a little bit more about themselves. The members can use this time to problem solve or seek assistance or advice from the group as a collective. The time is theirs to use however they would like. Super excited about our speaker this week. Now, I'd pretty much willed her into existence with us today. So here she is. Hey, Heather. Welcome back out. This is one of the original members of Business at Breakfast, so it's very exciting to have you out with us. And yeah, wow, I'm surprised to hear that you've moved from Canberra down to the South Coast, only because I just didn't know. But to be fair, as a Bowen therapist who can do things remotely, it doesn't make a difference. I personally, Heather is my Bowen therapist. When I go down to Canberra, I often go in and say, you know, Heather, my head only turns this far. Let's make that happen a bit better than that. Last time Heather put her magic hands on me, which is quite a while ago now, Heather. We're looking at like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. But I can still turn my head.
Oh, good.
I know.
Longer than that.
So there was something else. So here's a little secret, Heather, that came from me for that is coming home to a golden retriever. Something happened. The boys have gone through that stage. They're now 12 and 14, go through this back cracking stage where they go, hey, Mum, check this out. And they turn around and you hear click, 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 like every single bone. You go, it's kind of cool and it's kind of gross. And I don't know if that's good or bad for you. But I've discovered that loosening up the spine, because Heather's given me some, you know, a couple of exercises to do, but loosening up the spine works really well when you have that, what's that love drug, that hormone that goes through your body, you know, like when you're pregnant. What's that one?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those, right?
Dopamine.
Anyhow, sorry?
Dopamine.
Yeah, whatever it is, the one that loosens up all your body when you're pregnant. It's the same. It happens when you cuddle someone. And every night, I cuddle Terry, our big golden retriever, and say, good night, buddy. And then when I go in for a cuddle, my back goes crack, 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 crack. And I've thought, because Heather has made me move my head, and then I cuddle Terry every night, it's just, it works a dream. So Heather mixed with golden retrievers. Wow, what a concept.
I do work with animals.
I know, right? Bowen therapy with dogs, it all works too, right?
Yeah.
So Heather, here's what I want you to do, right? I want you to give us your elevator pitch again, just to remind us what it is that you do. And then I want you to, but in regards to Bowen therapy, don't worry about all the other stuff, because I think Bowen therapy is very cool. The other stuff is cool too, but in regards to Bowen therapy, give us an elevator pitch and then tell us, how did you become a Bowen therapist? So what were you doing to discover Bowen therapy to end up there? Then stop talking. We'll have questions.
Okay. So I work in Canberra and I work at the South Coast down at a place called Soul Tribe Studios. Bowen therapy is my core business. It can be done remotely, both on humans and on animals. Actually, it can be on any organic life form, I guess. I started, how did I get into Bowen therapy? In my previous life, I was a kinesiologist. That was my first love. And I was actually had changed careers, was working in a sales role, and my back went. And my boss actually was seeing a Bowen therapist. Her daughter had just cancelled. She said, no, take the appointment and go. So I went to that appointment and walked out and went, I'm going to learn this. And that was it. From there on in, studied it, and it's become my next career. So does that answer your question? Is that?
We'll go with that. I'm sure we'll have questions on the other side of that. Who's got some questions for Heather?
I do.
Oh, great. Go, Sandra.
Heather, do you have any, have you had any experience with osteogenesis imperfecta?
No.
That brittle bone disease, osteogenesis imperfecta? Okay.
No, not labeled like that. I have people who come to me with osteoporosis.
Yeah, that's another. But yeah, I have that, but I also have osteogenesis imperfecta. It's a defect in the collagen gene, so it's a genetic. Yeah, makes the bones very brittle. Like I've had about 100 fractures in my life. So.
Okay. Yes. So my answer to that is no, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Does any of what you do help strengthen the bones?
Look, what Bowen therapy does is it works with the fascial system of the body, and it carries information through to your autonomic systems. So it takes you out of the fight and flight, out of the sympathetic nervous system, puts you into the parasympathetic nervous system. So what it does is it encourages the body to heal from the inside out. In terms of inflammatory diseases or autoimmune issues, it's very, very good. In terms of strengthening bones, I honestly haven't had that experience. I would assume that it would give you relief, but whether it would correct it would be a different matter.
Okay, thank you very much.
Here's my experience of Bowen therapy. I personally like the face-to-face Bowen therapy. Like, I like going down and seeing Heather and getting it done, like with the physical part of it. Now, it's done like this, right? She might say, okay, so your foot hurts, does it? Okay, let's just see how you can walk on that now. Did you all see what I did? Like, it's so mild, you don't even know it's happening. My brother-in-law, this is before I met Heather. I knew of another Bowen therapist from a different networking group. My brother-in-law, many, many years ago, was living for 1 year, lived in Papua New Guinea, and he suffered from sciatica. It's like lower back sort of issue thing, right? And doctors love to name pain, but apparently Bowen therapists don't. They just say, so a part hurts, does it? All right, no problems. Let's sort that out. And anyhow, I'd sent him he would go to chiropractic appointments and all these other things, and he'd flown back from Papua New Guinea, was visiting, his back started hurting, and then he was going back. So I said, go see Andrew's Bowen therapist. And I said, now it's really subtle. Like if he says your back hurts and he might touch your ear and then all of a sudden it's gone away. It'll be something. He might touch you on a finger. I don't know. You're not ever going to notice it, but it'll go away. Andrew had said to him 3 sessions to make sure that it's kind of embedded in. Matt made it to 2 sessions. And he said, yeah, I don't know that your mate does that much. I mean, honestly, I paid him the money and I went and, but he was going to see the chiropractor and a few other things at the same time. And he said, I mean, he was a nice enough lad, but whatever. Now, this was over 10 years ago. And I ask him every now and then now, I just say, hey, how are you going with your back? He goes, you know what? Your friend fixed me. He said, that's the only difference. The whole time I was there, I used to go to chiropractors all the time and I used to go to these ones and physios and all this other stuff. He said, the Bowen therapist was the only thing that was different. He said, and I've never suffered since. And he said, I didn't even make it to 3 appointments. He went to 2 and then gave up on it. And because during the time frame, he just couldn't see how subtle it was and that it fixed. So that's really cool. They don't notice. Sometimes you just don't notice until way after the fact.
Because it's such a gentle technique, people tend to think that, it's massage when it's really not. And they come in, they expect that they're going to be touched firmly and they're going to be munched and crunched. It's so gentle. People get off the table and go, oh, that was nice. And then a few days later, you might get a text going, wow, this is just so different, because it can take up to 5 days for the information to travel around and through your body and for you to start feeling those changes.
Yeah.
So what happened to your brother is so typical. And men are amazing. They get on the table and they go, my wife sent me, and it's like, yes, get on the table. And they get on the table and then they come for their 2nd or their 3rd session. They go, you got me. I thought it was crap, but I actually love it.
Yeah.
And I just have people who come back all the time for it.
Yeah.
Specialist.
My Noah has had a few sessions with Heather, hasn't for a little while. I think 9. He was 9 years old was the last time he did, and COVID was on. And you can imagine 9-year-old curled up in a ball on the lounge, wanting to play video games, all hunched up all the time, and try to get him out and moving. And he was telling me hurt, his whole body hurt. And we weren't allowed out. And I said, we'll see if Heather can fix that. Right. So Heather says, she's on the phone and she looks at him on the camera, right, and says, all right, Heather, here's Noah. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to just play your video game, sit in a dining chair, play your video game. I just want you to sit, stand here, do this. All right. Yeah, I can see where, yeah, okay, no problems. That's what you look like. Okay, no problem. She said, I'll do it with Michael, which is her husband. I'll do it with Michael. I'll call you back in 30 minutes and we'll see how you are. What's your pain level, right? And it was high, like he's looking at 10 or 11. He said he was in so much pain, right? So anyhow, He was told to sit on a dining chair, feet just dangling, play some video games. She'll call back in 30 minutes, right? Anyhow, she did whatever she did over there with Michael. And then Noah gets up, walks around. Oh, yeah, no, it feels pretty good. It's probably about, 5. He went from a 10 for days and days to a 5. And then by later that afternoon, we just had to track it over the course of, a few days. But by later that afternoon, we'd gone for a walk. He said, bring us down to a 4. And by the next day or 2 days later, he said, I don't even remember being in pain. I know I said it was a 10, but it can't have been that bad because I can't feel anything and I can't remember what it felt like before.
Yeah.
And
that's
so,
pretty cool.
yeah.
And Michael is a great person to surrogate with because he's so in tune that if people have got secrets, like they're not telling me stuff, he'll go, this and this and this is happening. So I get on the phone and they go, oh yes, actually I forgot that.
So yeah, it was very cool. So I'd like to say it's hooey to do it remotely, but it's not, because I think you've only ever worked on Noah remotely. You've never worked on Noah face to face. Jack's been in before, and actually it's interesting, something I didn't know, but I sent Jack in to see Heather because he's got rolled in feet. I've got rolled in feet. And so I can see how, over time that would be a problem with knees and things like that. Heather takes one look at him and says, any chance he had some sort of weird, difficult birth? I've gone, pulled out by forceps. Yeah, you can tell. And then she had us look at Jack and then described how his body was pulled out and twisted out. And that was interesting for someone to look on and go, oh God, I can actually see that. Whereas, it doesn't look like anything. So there's little things that you don't know that cause.
Most people get used to seeing someone as they are. So they don't notice anything like that.
I think I get your.
So, it's someone different who comes and observes your body from a different perspective will pick those things up that you wouldn't, because you see that person every day.
Yeah, 100%. So what I found out, if I had have known going back in time, like if I had have known of Bowen therapy and that, it's so gentle. What's the youngest you can do Bowen therapy on, Heather?
Just born.
Just born.
I do that on my grandchildren and other people who are willing to bring their babies. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, if I had
very gentle. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And Caesar babies, it's good. There's a technique that I use that just switches everything on for them. It just turns on the endocrine system. It's called mini endocrine. And it's a really good, gentle technique. Can't hurt the child in any way, shape or form. The worst that would happen is nothing, but it basically switches it all on so that as the child progresses and the endocrine system kicks in for their development, it all happens as it should on time. Not that it wouldn't with a Caesar baby, but there is some thought that when a child is being born through the vaginal canal, the forehead, nose, chin, chest, and pubis are pressed against the mother's pubic bone, and that's what actually switches the endocrine system on with babies. So it was one of Carl Ferrari's.
Yeah, right.
So it's a good one to have that I do. As soon as I don't care how old someone is, if they've been a Caesar baby, that's the first thing I do on them is I switch them on that way.
Yep. No, Jack was the salad tongs.
Yeah.
Ripped out that way.
Heather, can I say something?
Yes, sure.
I've had a lot of, I come from a alternative background, so I was a massage kinesiologist, whatever, and I've had a lot of Bowen therapy. It's probably one of the most effective therapies out there. I used to have somebody, I'd give her kinesiology, she'd give me Bowen, but I would love to do you have your website, or are you going to send that out?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'd be, and you just said, I didn't realise you can do Bowen distance.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah. My sister called me yesterday. She calls me when she had a dog that injured itself. And, she called me yesterday. I didn't know that it had been injured for a couple of days. Anyway, so I just worked on the dog while we were talking on the phone. And the dog's head came up because he couldn't lift his head properly. So the dog's head came up and, was begging for food. So in
Fantastic.
60 days, you should be pretty good. Doctors
Yeah.
should react really quickly that you should
Yeah.
get.
Can I ask what you charge?
It's 130 Australian dollars.
Cool. That's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'll be in touch. Thank
Lovely.
you.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather. Does anyone else have any questions for Heather? Something to think about, right? Yeah, I know. I do like that about Bowen therapy. It just sort of makes you stop and think. Thank you, Heather, for being our speaker today, and thank you, audience, for participating and being part of the talk as well.